Today's project is using mirror leaf or what some people know as gilding or metal leaf in order to enhance your artwork. And it doesn't just have to be artwork, it can be anything. You could have a piece of furniture that you want to put the gilding on. So I'm going to show you the different types of paste. There's a paste and a fluid. And so I'm going to show you those shortly. And you can use this technique not only for or picture frames, exactly, hand doll. That's a big one. A lot of older picture frames, you'll see are gold, and then they might have some discoloration on them. Often those were done using metal leafing. And so I'm going to show you how you would do that. Oh, thanks for sharing, Salmon's Girl. I appreciate it. Um, let's see. Hold on a second. Yes, I was just looking over on YouTube to be sure that we're all caught up over there. Um, so the types of things that we'll be working with today are um, metal leafing, which comes like this. So this happens to be Eberhard Faber, and as you can see, I've actually used it all, but it comes in a package like this. There are actually even some instructions over here, and notice what they're doing. They're using a picture frame there, just like you mentioned, Handel. Um, and so, yes, this is the kind of metal leaf that you would use when you were gilding a piece of furniture or wood, plaster. There are all kinds of things that you can do that on. And then the other type that I tend to use for my artwork is called mirror foil or just foil. Let's see, Handel. Yes, I didn't know this product was made. Yes, yes, yes. Um, so this is called mirror foil by Pebeo, and other companies sometimes will call it transfer foil. And it might be called book foil because it's actually similar to what's used when people who are bookmakers put that gold onto the leather. That's actually a heat transfer. That's why a lot of times it's called transfer foil. But sometimes you can use that same transfer foil if you happen to find it, if you're on Whatnot, or you're out at an antique store or a craft store and you see metal leafing, or they might call it, like I said, transfer foil or heat transfer foil. Sometimes that will work with the exact same technique that I'm showing you here. So somewhere in storage, in my art storage, I have a whole bunch of different kinds of the transfer foils with some are holographic, rainbow, your standard colors like copper, gold, silver. There are tons of them. And then the nice thing is the mirror foils here also come in colors. So you can see, for instance, like here's a piece of the gold, and here is a piece of red that I was using already. You can see where I transferred the foil from an acetate sheet. So that's why I like these mirror leaves. It's an acetate sheet that has the color attached to the back of it. So the back of these sheets are all this silvery color. The front of the sheet is where you see it's been attached to this acetate, and this is the color side here. So when you're working with it, you put the color side up to where you can see it because you're attaching it here from the back and pulling it off of the acetate sheet. So there's an acetate sheet where I've already done some of the foiling. There's the back of it, the part that you would lay down on top of your work and then rub over top of it in order to get um, the shininess off. I prefer working with these metal leaves like this mirror foil or transfer foil. I prefer working with it because when you're working with metal leafing, it is very what's called flyaway. It will, if you have the air conditioning on like I do right now, holy moly, you're going to end up with it everywhere. Or if you have a fan going, the traditional metal leafing is just a very thin sheet of metal or imitation metal. And hey there, Gabriel Lee, welcome in, welcome in. And it will, it doesn't have it's not attached to that piece of acetate like this type of transfer foil is. And so it will poof go everywhere when you're working with it. And hence this Pebio was kind enough to give me some of this deco foil, and it's little chips. Oh, there goes a piece right there. Yep, because the air conditioning is running. So there's a little piece right there, and you can see they're very flyaway. So that's your typical metal foil is like that. And actually, here is a bag that I have that I keep the one in that I'm working with. And you can see there are little pieces of flyaway everywhere. And I don't want this one to get away. So, yes, Gabriel Lee said, nice to see me back. Last weekend, I got to go see my daughter who just came in from Greece um, for her baby shower. So, that was so much fun. I got to see my grandson. I got to see my all three of my daughters. And so that was a great time. Thank you for mentioning it. Yeah, that was a wonderful weekend. Okay, so in order to put these leaves down, either the transfer foil or this, like I said, some transfer foils are heat transfer, but even some of the heat transfer will work with what's called a sizing. So a sizing is some sort of glue. This is a fluid glue. There are many different companies that make it. Um, because I work with the Pebio Paint Company of North America, then often they will give me things like this to try or to demonstrate for them. And so this is the fluid version of what's called gilding sizing. So sometimes it'll even say right on the bottle sizing. And that what that means is it's not your typical glue. You're going to put it down, and when it dries, it's going to be tacky. So that's why it's called sizing. And then you're going to lay down your transfer foils or your metal leaf on top of the sizing once it's dry and it's all tacky. Okay, now I know this I can call professional grade, which means it's going to stay tacky until you cover it with something. So you could put it on today and 2 days later come back and put um, your metal foil on top of it and it'll be fine. It'll work great. The reason that I mention that is if you're using a craft grade sizing, not a professional grade sizing, then what's going to happen is it can dry. So there's an open time, a window within which you have to apply your metal leaf. And it's funny because I had given this to another artist. I had sent some to another artist, and she had put it on her artwork and then set an alarm for like midnight to get up and put her transfer foil down on it. And I said, you didn't have to do that. It stays tacky until you cover it. And she was like, it does? Because she was used to working with craft sizing. And the craft version often will dry and become too dry to evenly take your metal foil or your transfer foils. And so that was a good one. I was like, no, you don't have to do that. You can put it on and, 3 days from now go and it's still going to be tacky. So that's the good news of knowing that you're working with a professional grade. Now, if you are not familiar with my website, on my website here, which is dietz.art.com. So like the word diet, DIETZART.com. If you go there, you are going to have a page called Supply Links. And so on Whatnot, I sell my finished artwork and some of the papers and things that I make or that I get, ephemera, those kind of things, to my artist community on Whatnot. If you want some of these art supplies, I don't stock those. Those are available at the supply links on my website. So you can go to my website and look in the menu and go to supply links, and then you will scroll through there. You click on the name like Pebio Mixgen Mirror Foils or something like that. You click on the words above the picture, and that will take you to where you can buy the various products. Now, I just showed you the fluid medium, and I generally put that on with a sponge brush so that I can just throw the sponge brush away when I'm done. I know a lot of people like to use a regular brush like this, and you can apply it with a regular brush. It's just, let's say you get a phone call and you're away from your desk for 20 minutes and you come back. This could be dried and all sticky and you're not going to get it off. So that's why I just use a throwaway. I buy these in big, bulk, and you can find them from people who do the crafting sales on Whatnot. Sometimes you can find things like this in bulk, and then that way you're able to just throw it away when you're done. Okay, it doesn't matter if it gets sticky, you're going to be throwing it away. All right. Um, and that is working with the fluid. Now, there's something else called a relief. If y'all are familiar with chasing, or sometimes you'll look at metal and it has a raised portion to it, that's a relief, meaning it's up off the surface. So the cool thing is that there's also available something called, this mixture is French, but it is a relief. And what that means is, you can see here it comes in a tube, and this is a paste. So instead of being a gilding, it's funny because this says gilding paste, this is actually gilding fluid, and this is the gilding paste. So you can use the paste directly from the tube and draw with it, write with it, make mark making with this glue that's going to dry tacky, and then you're going to put your metal leafing or transfer foils on it. Or another thing that I do is I screw the top off here, and I'll be showing you that in a little bit, squeeze a bunch of it out, and then I pick it up with a palette knife and I put it through a stencil. It's so cool. So these are the tricks that you're going to get to learn about tonight, is how I use these various glues in order to get different effects using the metal foil and the mirror foil. Another quick thing to mention is, I find it works better when you're using these glues, these sizings, on a sealed surface. Now, there is an exception where if you put it on wood, it depends on how porous the wood is, whether it'll soak in. Like, for instance, if you use this sizing on paper, even this one, there's no guarantee that you're going to get the effect that you're looking for, because it's porous and it's going to soak in. So most of the time what I do, here is an example of a big piece of artwork that I have that's available on Whatnot. It's on paper, but you can see the red mirror leafing there, and that red mirror leaf is on top of resin. So what I've done is, in my artwork, oftentimes I'll work on paper, but I've sealed the paper in some way. You can seal the paper by putting a gesso, which is a primer, on it, and that will make it non-porous instead of being porous. What I've found is, if you try to put this on a porous surface, like straight onto paper, that if you run your hand over it, it will tear away from the paper. The exception to that is if you use the fluid sizing, you have to put 2 to 3 coats of the fluid sizing on in order to be sure, if you're putting it on a surface that soaks, that's porous, that to be sure that you've built up a couple layers and then it'll stay sticky on top. Okay, so that's the trick with paper. Now, what if I was going to put it on wood? What I would do first is I would seal the wood. So there are a couple of ways that you can seal woods. Woods have different kinds of sealants to them. Not a wax sealant, right? Because, for instance, this is fluid, so you want it to attach to the wood. But you can use something like, this is a clear gesso, which is a clear primer. Or you can use a wood sealer, as long as it's not oil-based or wax-based, okay? You can seal the wood with a water-based sealer, and then this or this will work perfectly as a glue sizing on top of that, okay? So that's what I've found from experience, that I like having it. Hey, what is that? Mazing Boutique. Welcome in, welcome in. Um, yes, so I prefer to put it onto the glues, the sizing onto a sealed surface of some sort. And if you're painting with acrylic paints are a plastic. So they definitely will seal whatever your surface is, say in your art journal, which of course is paper. But if you've got acrylic paint on it, then the acrylic paint seals that paper, and you can use these glues on top of that, these sizings. Okay, now I also wanted to let you know that for tonight, after the workshop, that this card it's an acrylic paper, an acrylic background. I put acrylic paint on it, and then I used this mixture, which is the sizing, but in a tube, and it's relief, which means it's raised up. And I made some funky flowers here and leaves. And so this is a blank greeting card. So somebody's going to win that later tonight, and it's using the mirror foil that I'm going to show you how to use. All right. So that's today's givey at the end of the workshop. I also have a few other things I threw in the givey, but it just depends. Let's see how it goes. Right. Oh, all right. I'm going to take you over top of my table so that we can get started. We can get started of where I'm actually going to show you all these glues, the sizings, and the mirror leaf in action. All right. Woohoo! Now I can see where we are. Excellent. All right. Let me move a few things out of the way. And again, these are my bona fides. If you are not familiar, go ahead and take a picture of that. That tells you where I am on Instagram and Facebook and what my website is, all that good stuff. Okay, I hope everybody's doing well this evening. Let me know where you're coming in from. I am in Western Florida, and it is gorgeous and sunny outside right now. Most of my neighbors went boating today, which was really nice for them. Okay, so this is palette paper, and it's something that I use a lot, especially when I'm working with acrylic paints, but you can also use it with oil paints. You can use it with your water-soluble crayons that I've shown in workshops before. Actually, I save these workshops and they go up on my YouTube channel under the live tab. So I see Pop One on YouTube says you use watercolors, and yes, I do use watercolors, Pop One. Thank you for asking. I have several workshops on YouTube under the live tab that are watercolor workshops. And then, but then I also love working with acrylics, and I love working with oil paints, and I do resin. I'm one of those crazy artists that I can't quite decide what is it that I want to do, right, when I grow up. Let me see if I can pull this in a little bit closer or not. Oh, look at that. Life is good, y'all. Okay, so let's go back to this piece, which is the piece that I started with you 2 weekends ago, or 2 Sundays ago. And this was when we were doing as I mentioned before, we were working with modeling paste. And I put it on the black paper because the modeling paste dries white, and I wanted you to be able to see the modeling paste on the black background. Now, this part of the modeling paste from that workshop, which is available in my past live sessions. Oh, thanks for the hearts over here on Whatnot. I appreciate it. So it dries white. And I could have tinted it ahead of time, but I was trying to show you what it would dry like here on the black. Now, what I've done here is I've taken a marker. So I've taken an acrylic marker, just any acrylic marker, but these are the Pebeo acrylic markers. And I use the marker to color on top of the modeling paste. All right. And you might say, well, Tristina, what does that have to do with metal leafing? Well, in the other little spots, so the leaves I did with an acrylic marker, and the other spots are little dots. You can see in between there, right? And this was from a stencil where I ran the modeling paste through a stencil. Those little dots, I used this Mixture Relief sizing glue. And the nice thing is it comes with this beautiful nozzle. So there's a little tip here to the nozzle, and I was able to use that nozzle to just touch these circles here and fill them in. So let me see if I can pull you in a little bit closer. Whoops. Will you come in closer? Come on. Nope, that's it. That's the best we're going to get tonight. So I'll bring this up a little bit closer for you. So right from the nozzle, before I get started, let me just show you right here. I'm going to put some of it. And this is squeezing on the tube. It's a metal tube. I squeezed on the tube and out came that line right there, right? And so actually, if you looked at it from the side, you would notice that the line is raised up off the surface. And so that is called relief when something is raised up off the surface. Well, and normally I would have covered this paper with a little bit of gel medium, what I had, or I would use some clear gesso, or I would just use a gel medium. This is just acrylic paint with no color in it, okay? So it's the base for acrylic paint. And I would put that on this paper first before working with this, because later this could roll right off when I go to put the stuff on it. But when I'm using it here in this area, I'm putting it on top of the modeling paste. And the modeling paste is an acrylic product, so it has sealed the paper. And I can take this tip. First, I use a paper towel and I make sure that it is flowing. So I'm just squeezing it a little bit. Can you see the little line right there? I was able to put a little line on there to be sure it's flowing okay. Of course, if it's not flowing okay, you can always take this top off like this. And then I use a needle tool like that, and I go inside there in both directions and make sure I get that cleared out. Or of course, you know, you could use a pin, right? Now, there's a little tiny bit on the top there, so I'm going to get that off. I always have a paper towel in my hand when I'm working with these tubes that have the little nozzle, because I find that you always get a little bit of it stuck on the top and you want to keep it flowing. So everywhere where there's a little dot here that's sealed on the paper with the acrylic modeling paste, I went ahead and squeezed out some of this sizing. So this is what's going to dry, clear, and sticky. That's what's going to happen with this. It goes on white, so hopefully you can see that right there, right there. I put it on top of the modeling paste. And now over here, these are all dry already because I did it earlier to be sure they would already be dry. So this area over here where all those little dots are, those dots are dry. And so the way that you tell the difference is if it's white like this, it's not ready yet. And it depends on how thick you squeeze it out. You can get some really beautiful raised up lines of the sizing glue, what you need. And you can adjust the size of the line by cutting the top. For instance, this is another one of the tips. And I cut it a little bit further down so that it would give me a thicker line. But you'll know that it is dry and ready to put your either your metal leaf or your transfer foil on when it turns clear. So this is not ready, right? We just put that on. And it's going to, in Florida where it's very humid, it takes a long time for it to dry. I'm just going to tell you, I usually will do my work and leave it for a couple of hours before I come back and make sure that it's clear and that it's tacky. And then I know that it's ready. Of course, the thickness of it will determine how quickly it will dry as well. So let's go ahead and I will show you the fun part right now. Right here, we're going to use a gold sheet. Let's see what I have available here. And this is showing you using these transfer sheets as opposed to using the actual loose foil. So you can see here, there is a piece right there. And as I said before, you're going to lay it down with the color up because all of them have this silver, this muted silver on the back. That's the bottom. That's what's going to go on the bottom. So here we're going to put it over top of the area where I already put the mixture earlier and allowed it to dry. So I'm going to use a paper towel and I'm going to go in here and just rub all over it to pick up the glue in those little spots. So the areas where there's no glue, it's not going to pick up. It's only the areas where where I put the glue. Okay. Sometimes I will use a cotton ball for this as well. And then the cotton ball helps get in there. Use my fingers, especially because this mixture relief, so glad that you chose to teach this to teach. Hubby just got me some to try. Salmon Girl, that's so cool. So this one, which is the mixture relief that has the raised edges, I find your finger or using a piece of cotton gets down around the edges because you want to be sure that nothing's left sticky afterwards. And so I'm just going over the whole thing to be sure that I picked all those up. Okay, here's the fun part. The reveal. Okay, let's see. I want to make sure there's light on there. Ta-da! Now, what you're going to notice is all those little spots right there have gold on them. Oh, how cool is that? And it's so simple. It is so simple. Oh, I see Pop One over on YouTube asked me, do I use nickel azo yellow? And yes, I do use nickel azo yellow. I love that color because it's very pale. And I like the pale colors like that. Okay, there are a few more left over here. Now what you're going to notice here, take a look at the bottom of this. You see how the gold, you're going to have little holes in the gold where portions of the gold attached to the page. And so now I'm just going to use what's left over here on the other side. And now, so that got the other ones that were over here that I didn't cover with the first sheet. Now, what I do is I go over it with my finger and I feel the areas where the little transfer has taken place, where the gold in this case has transferred on. And I go over it with my finger to be sure that nothing feels tacky, nothing feels sticky. There's some sticky still right there in that area. So now I'm going to find a part of this transfer foil where it hasn't transferred yet. And I'm going to put that down on there. And now I'm going to use my finger and go in there a little bit more. Okay, now that covered it. Because you want to try not to have any of that stickiness left, because otherwise what? It'll attract dust and things like that, right? So, all right. It looks like that's pretty good. Yay! I'm going to turn this into an artist card, you know, an ACEO when it's done. All right. Now, I have been asked in the past, can you seal this once it's down on top of here? All right. So there are two different sets of considerations. One set of consideration is for transfer foil. Now, like I said, I called it transfer foil because it's a piece of acetate. You can see better on this one. See how you can see through most of it? So that is a piece of clear acetate with it attached to the back. And it's actually a plastic that gets attached to the back. So this beautiful, shimmery, shiny gold is actually not metal. It's a type of plastic. So what happens with plastic if you put a solvent on it? It can melt, right? Because plastic doesn't always play nicely with a solvent. So that means if I, say, was using a spray varnish or a spray sealer, I would want to use a water-based acrylic sealer on it and not a sealer that has solvents in it. And you'll be able to read the bottle and be able to tell, okay? And that is what you can use to seal up this plastic-based type of mirror foil. Now, metal leafing is different. This is, like I said, it's either metal or imitation metal of some sort. And leaves like this or like this, you can use on top of oil paints. So I've seen oil painters use this type of thing on top of oil paint. If it's real metal and not imitation metal, sometimes it can tarnish, and you don't want that. So that's why I like to use it on top of acrylics, because I've never seen it tarnish on top of acrylics. But I have used it on oil, and it depends on the oil. So I always say test, to be sure that you're going to get the results that you want. So varnishing wise, there is a company called Mona Lisa. And Mona Lisa makes sizings like this, which is the glue. And they also make, they have metal leafing, and then they have a spray varnish for your metal leafing. So again, that's Mona Lisa is the name of the company. So if you do want to have a spray sealer, let's say that you were putting the metal leafing like this all over a picture frame, and then you wanted to seal the picture frame afterwards. Using that spray varnish from Mona Lisa is a great way to do that over top of the metal leafing, as opposed to the plastic. Here, this plastic, the acetate like this, I rarely even seal it. Almost never seal it. It's fine. You know that painting I just showed you a minute ago? This one's several years old. Let's see, what year is it from? 2016. And the gold or the red here is still just as bright as when I put it on. So, and it's not sealed, not sealed. So that's another benefit I find from using these acetate metal leaves, is that they're you don't have to seal it up if you don't want to. Now, if I were going to seal this, what you want to consider is, because this comes off shiny, it's going to be all shiny, right? It's not going to be matte. It's going to be shiny. So I will seal it with this gloss gel medium, because it's an acrylic product. Hey there, Andrew Kim. Welcome in, welcome in. This is an acrylic product. If you use the gloss version, it'll maintain the gloss of your metal leafing like this. And then it'll seal it up, and you can put more layers of whatever mixed media you want on top of that. So feel free to seal it if you like to seal these kind of acetate leaves, transfer foils, and Pebio calls them mirror leaves. Feel free to seal those with a gloss gel medium. All right, you want to keep it gloss. If I take matte medium, this is the matte version of an acrylic, no pigment in it, just acrylic, it dries clear. If I put the matte on top, what's going to happen is the shininess, which is what I love about you know, the metal leafing or the mirror leafing is going to be knocked back because you're putting a mat on top of it. So just be aware of what the finish is from your mediums that you're sealing with, even if it says it's a varnish. Is it a gloss varnish or is it a matte varnish? You're going to want to know that, okay? Um, oh, it makes me so happy to see those little gold dots there. Okay, let's try something that's a little bit bigger, bigger, so that maybe you can see it better. All right, here we go. I'm going to start with the best part first, which is the actually putting on the mirror foil. Okay, so this is a teacup series that I'm working on, and these are pieces of gorgeous handmade paper. So it has what's called a décollage. That means the edge is raw all the way around. A person made this piece of paper one sheet at a time. And I put acrylic paint on it. So I used some of the mixed in relief. I'm going to show you how I use it right now. And I ran it through a stencil. So can you see the little bit of a design there? Yeah, you can see a little bit of the floral design. So that design came from this stencil right here with the pretty little flowers on it. And I used the paste, the mixed in relief, and a palette knife, which I'm going to show you in just a second. But I like the best part, which is the actual, let's put some on here. So I'm going to take this red, I'm going to lay it over top of wherever I see. Can you see the shininess there? That's the glue. It's all tacky right there. And let's put the red right there. I'm going to use my paper towel. So like I said, I put the paste on top of the acrylic paint portion of this artwork, not on the paper, because it would have absorbed into the paper and then I would have had to do another layer, and you can't always get it perfectly positioned. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you can see right here where it is attaching to where I put the glue. Can you see like the flower design? Okay, drum roll. Here we go. Oh my gosh, look at that. So there's that beautiful red. And so it's got sort of a brass tone of acrylic paint in the background. And now it has some beautiful red flowers on it. And then look at this. You can see the flower design right through it, right? Because that's where the flowers attached to the glue there. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Okay, so let me show you how I applied this mixed in relief. This is another one of the teacups. So here is my stencil. There's no glue or anything on the stencil. Yeah, right? Salmon's Girl says, what? Wow. I know, I'm telling you, this is amazing. You're going to fall in love. Okay, so I'm going to, I can flip it either direction. There's no tackiness on it. Some stencils, when you buy them, especially fabric stencils, they will have a tacky spray on one side of them so that you put them down and they stay. Most of mine, I would say 90% of mine don't have that. They are just loose like this. So you can flip them over and use either side depending on how you like the design. Okay, let's do this. Kind of like that. All right. So I'm covering over the area of, again, this is acrylic paint. It's like a bronze color that I mixed from a couple of metallics. So I'm going to lay that down on there, get my design where I want it. And then, okay, here's the magic. I could use this Gilding solution. You can see the solution there. In a little bowl like this with a stencil brush. But you know what? That's like too much work. All right. I'm going to show you a quicker way that I actually find to be way better. I took the lid off of this, and this is my palette paper, right? You can find the link to the palette paper on my website under that supply links. Okay, look what I just did. Woo! I just put out a little blob of the Mixtion Relief sizing paste. Isn't that cool? So cool, y'all. You're gonna fall in love with this if you try it. You're gonna want to metal leaf everything. Oh, it's just the way it is. Okay, let me see. I actually think I may want to move this around just a little bit. All right, there we go. Um, so now I'm going to use the bottom of my palette knife. See how the palette knife has a little crick right here? I want to use the bottom of the palette knife. That's the trick when you're doing palette knife stuff. And I'm going to get some of the paste on the bottom of the palette knife. I'm going to hold this down, hold down the stencil, and then I'm just running the palette knife over top of the stencil and filling in those holes. So there we go again. And I'm going to run it across here. You're going to see this in just a moment when we're up close and personal with it. Okay, so I just keep refilling the bottom of the palette knife, holding this in place, and putting it right where I want it. Okay. You want to try, well, you want to not move your stencil while you're doing this, because otherwise you're going to mess up your pattern, right? So you want to hold your stencil firmly. Some people don't like to go over it multiple times like I am, but I'm okay with that. Okay, good. So I just ran that over top of it. Okay, here's the reveal now. Let me see if I can pick this up. Yes. Okay, so I can bring it closer for you. Okay, so you see there how I've got the paste inside the stencil, and then let's lift the stencil up. Oh my goodness, y'all. Ah, look at that. How fun is that? Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Okay, now this I want to keep clean. And of course, if the glue dries on there, the sizing dries on there, what's going to happen is it's going to get all sticky, right? So I have a tray, a butcher tray, and I have these linked on my website. And I'll keep a bunch of water in that tray, and then I'll throw this into the tray. As a matter of fact, I'm going to throw a little bit of water in there right now. And so I'm going to put a little bit of water in there. Stencils always give me issues staying still. Well, you can tape it down, and that will help with that issue. Use the blue painter's tape, and I find that works well. Okay, so now I'm going to take this, I'm going to flip it upside down because most of the glue is on the top here, right? Boom, right into my butcher tray like that. Because as long as the glue is wet, it is water soluble. Okay. Now, with this one, I'm not filling it up too much. I only put a little bit of water in there. And the reason is because you don't want to throw this water down your sink. Don't do it. Because imagine if there's some of this glue in there and then it dries in your pipes, what's going to happen to your pipes? Your pipes are going to have this sticky stuff all down the lining of the pipes. You don't want that. So what I do is I just put a little bit in here, just enough to keep my stencils damp so they don't dry, so the glue doesn't dry up on them. And when I'm done, you can either throw this water outside in the rocks and wipe it up with a paper towel, or I usually have lots of paper towels in my studio trash bin. So I just pour the water into my trash bin here in the studio and let it dry on the paper towels, and it goes out in the garbage. Okay, so definitely a big tip to don't throw that water down your sink. Okay. Now it's super easy to clean up. You just wipe it off of your, you just wipe it right off of your palette knife, right? That's why I love working with the paste, y'all. I love the paste for that. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this paper towel and grab a new paper towel. Where did my paper towels go? Because you're going to end up getting sticky all over you. Trust me, I've done it many times. I end up with sticky all over me. Okay, now what I do is I go back and I examine this. I examine it. And I make sure that the glue is where I want it to be. And anywhere that I don't want the glue, I can clean it up at this point. So I use a small brush. I just dip that small brush into a little bit of water. And if there's a little bit here that I don't want to have there, I just clean it up while it's still wet, like this. Okay. Now you can also use a wipe. So if you have, where did I put my wipes? I had them here yesterday. Okay, well, you know what I'm talking about, wet wipes. If you have wet wipes, you can use those to wipe up. Ah, here they are. So I use wet wipes to, if it's a larger area, and I also like to use a Q-tip dipped in water, like that. So you don't have to have any fancy schmancy tools. You can just use something like this. And this is how I go around and I sort of clean it up and make sure that the glue is only where I want it to be. Yeah, everything else is, I'll take this little tiny bit off of here. Okay, now let's say that you got the paste somewhere that later when you looked at it, you went, oh my gosh, I really don't want it to be in that area. I wish it wasn't sticky. I wish it wasn't tacky. So if there was somewhere on here where I thought, oh, it would really be nicer if it wasn't where it was. After it dries, so if you didn't get it up while it was wet, after it dries, if you decide that you want to make a change, all you have to do is take a little bit of that. Remember I said you just use some gel medium? You could take a little bit of gel medium on your finger or on a small brush, and then you can paint it over top of the sticky glue, and that will make the glue not sticky anymore because you've put something over top of it. You've just put a little bit of gel medium over top of it, okay? So that's how you can, what I call perfect your design if you decide later you want to make changes, okay? You can sort of repair what you're doing with that. Oh my gosh, I am just getting sticky everywhere, which is what happens. I just put that on top of here, which of course is sticky now, that little zigzag that I made earlier. Oh, okay. So what I like to do is I like to store these, like I'll do a whole bunch more work on this, on these teacups after after the mirror leaf is on there. So I just use a little bit of wax paper and I put it on top, and that helps to preserve it while I'm working on it. Okay, so that's a good way to protect the surface while you're doing your thing, while you're working. Okay. Oops, that was the card that somebody's going to win today. Woohoo! Okay, so let me put these aside, my little teacups. And this, it's white now, but later I'll know that it's ready when it looks like this, when it's clear, like that. Because there you can see the flower design on it. Yes, lovely. Okay, so let me say, I'm so excited for this series of teacups. My thought process was the Japanese teacup, because teacups are a big thing. The tea ceremony in Japan is huge, right? Huge. Okay, let's see. I have a few more things over here. So I'm going to show you the fluid right now. I'm going to show you the fluid mixture or gilding sizing right here. So like I said, it's fluid. And this is acrylic paint in the background. This is where I had applied some of this gilding solution and then put the metal leafing on top of it. You can see the metal leaf there. And then this piece, all right, do you see the shininess right there? That shiny is tacky, and that is this. It's the sizing. It's the Pebeo Mixtion, but it could be any one of the metal leafing sizings. And that's what this is, this shiny. Now, this is what the paint looks like with nothing on it. You see how this paint, this particular paint is the Pebeo paint. It dries kind of satin like that. And so that's how I can tell where I've put my, my gilding solution. And this side has on it, it had gilding solution on it as well. And then that's where I applied some of this metal leafing like this. But let me go ahead and show you, I'm going to show you how to put the flakes on here. But first I'm going to show you how to put some of this mixtion paste on. And I'm going to make a strip down the middle there. So to help me with that, I'm going to use, this is called washi tape. So there, I actually bought this washi tape from someone on Whatnots. So it was one of the craft shows and she had tons of different washi tapes. So I got to select the washi tapes that I wanted. So I'm going to tape this off. What I love about washi tape is it's low tack. So it won't damage your artwork when you pull it off. So I'm making myself a space here that I'm going to make a strip. Okay, like that. There we go. So make sure that your washi tape is tacked down really well. It is not straight, and of course that would make me nutso. So I'm just going to straighten it a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so that's the washi tape. And I pushed it down to be sure that it is well attached. And now I'm going to use the sponge brush. And what I do is I take a little bit of the solution, the gilding solution, and it has a childproof, this one has a childproof lid on it. There we go. I'm going to set this one aside so it doesn't get in the water. All right. So I just use a little, I believe I have links to this also on my website. These are just little art, little art tubs. And the cool thing about these little art tubs is what you want to look for is there are little nubs around the edge. And that is so that when you put your brush on there, it doesn't roll off. Isn't that cool? Just the little things, right? It's the little things. Okay, so now I'm going to use my sponge brush, and you can see this is rather fluid, but that's the sizing glue, and I'm going to run that along here. It goes down so easily. Wow. Super fast, super fast. So if I were doing a wooden frame, it would take no time at all to cover the whole frame with this sizing. And I didn't even use very much. There's still plenty in there. And there you go. So it has kind of a milky look to it. So if I kind of turn it to the side, you can see it's sort of milky looking. And when it dries, it's going to dry with that shininess like here. It's going to dry like that. Okay, so I'm going to move this aside. After that dries, then I will pull up this washi tape and I'll have a nice strip right there of the glue for me to attach something to. All right, let me move that out of the way. And this is the one where it's already down on top of. Remember, I prefer to put my solution on a sealed surface. An acrylic paint seals the surface. I see Salmon's Girl said, neat. Thank you. So the acrylic paint already sealed the paper, right? And now what I want to do is put some of these flakes on there. Normally, if I were doing a whole sheet, like some people like to cover a whole surface, it could be a canvas surface, it could be a paper surface. I would seal the paper first, like I said, with either a clear gesso, a white gesso, or a clear medium, gel medium. Okay, so the paper was, in this case, was already sealed. And if I were working with the metal leafing, and let's see, where is that? Like this, when you pull the metal leaf out, it comes out in sheets. So there would be a piece of metal leaf in between these sheets. And you just pull it out, you put it down, and then you pull the sheet off of it. Oh, I can see some of my doggy's DNA is in there. Okay. Hey, Foxhound, welcome in, welcome in. Because it's sticky, one of my doggy's hairs got in there. Yeah, all my artwork, if you looked at it on a micro level, there would be doggy DNA in every one of my paintings. Okay, so as I said, I used all of this. And I used it all on here. This is called variegated. So you can see it kind of has some different colors. That's my favorite. That's my personal favorite for the metal leaf is the variegated metal leaf. Oh, I just love that look. Nature's glitter, right? Yes, indeed. Okay, so there were a few little pieces left in here. So I said, oh, good. I'll just show you with a few pieces that are left. So these are in between the leaves like that. So you can see there was a whole leaf right there. There's only a little bit left. I don't know if you noticed that, but the air conditioning just blew it. So if I were doing a whole sheet and I wanted to position it just right, you can take a piece of wax paper and you can put the wax paper down on the sheet and rub on it. And depending on the brand, oftentimes it will come right up onto your wax paper. Do you see that? So then that way you can see where you're placing it. And now I'm going to place it right here. And then you would rub on the back of your wax paper. And there it is. Okay. So that's how you get it down on there. Oh, I just love it. Now there is going to be some flaking. I will show you that in just a second because I'm going to put some more on there. Oh yeah. Let's put some copper on there. I love the copper. The richness, the warmness of the copper is so beautiful. And thank you for spending your Sunday afternoon with me. I appreciate it. So there's a whole handful of the copper. Oh, you see, there it goes. That's the thing with this. It's very flyaway as compared to working with the transfer foils. So right now, I'm just going to put a bunch of this on there. There we go. And move it around. And the air conditioner's moving it around. And then we're going to take our wax paper and put it down on here. And then press it. Okay, now, there's a little bit sticking up there. So that was not next to the glue. So I can just take these little pieces and move them around. All right, so let's put a little more on there. Oi! Wax paper is your friend when it comes to this this particular technique. Okay, let's do this. Nice. There you go. Now, there are little bits that are sticking up. There are bunches of little bits sticking up here that were not attached to the glue. So if they're big pieces, you can pick them up and put them somewhere else so that they can attach to the glue. But if you've put down or covered everything that you wanted to cover and you're done with what you want to cover, I'm putting some of this away. So you see why I put it in a Ziploc bag like I did with the gold one, because oh my gosh, the little bitty bits just start flying. You see them all in the bag there. But I can't stand to think that I would lose a little bit. Okay, so now if I'm done putting it down where I want it, I take a brush that's a medium stiffness and I just go around. I'm not doing it just up and down. I'm doing it on an angle because um, I want to get off those little bitty bits that did not attach themselves to the glue. And so I find it's just easier if I'm doing it on its side to get those little bitty bits off of there. You see how I'm turning it one way, then the next way. Okay, here we go. Okay, and then you're going to have lots of little flyaways all over your art studio. I'm just going to tap those into the trash bin right there. When you do this kind of metal leafing, oh my gosh, y'all, you end up with metal leaf everywhere, all over your studio. But the result is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. The result is fabulous. So it can definitely be worth it. And I know there are a lot of oil painters that will lay down a background of the metal leaf like this, and then they paint with their oil paint or acrylics on top of that metal leaf. Oh my gosh, y'all, it looks so amazing because this luminosity shows through the back. Oh, it's so beautiful. So beautiful. Okay, so after I've done this and gotten all the little bitty bits off like that, I go back over it with this and make sure I catch any little pieces. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. It looks amazing. I'll probably make some artist trading cards on top of here so that I can offer those next week. But um, notice there's a bunch of glue in the background right here that wasn't used, right? Because I covered that big area, but I didn't put it all in that area. So this is tacky over here. This is tacky over here. How am I going to stop that from being tacky if you've already put all of your metal leafing down? Well, that's where I take the gloss gel medium and I coat it with the gloss gel medium, and that will get rid of any area that's sticky. It'll cover it right up. And that's what I did over here. So you can see I still have plenty of gold shine as long as I'm using the gloss, some sort of gloss medium. It's going to maintain the shine. Okay, so that's what I would do here. Is I just use gloss medium and I put a bunch of it on there. And I'm going to use this same brush. And I'm just, at first, it's not going to look any good, okay? It's going to look like, what happened? What did I do? No. But promise me, I promise you, when this medium dries, it's crystal clear. Okay? It'll be clear, I promise. And then it'll look beautiful. Okay. Let me just do that. And then I will show you. So I covered the area up completely with the gloss gel medium. And because when acrylic mediums are wet, they look white like this. But when they are dry, it'll be crystal clear like on this side over here. So you'll see the shininess of that, but that will have covered up all of the stickiness that was left. All right, let me, I'm actually just going to get rid of that right now, which is a shame because if you've watched some of my other workshops on collage, I use the gel mediums to collage my papers down. Okay, there we go. Let's get that out of there. All right, nice. Let's see how this one is doing. Oh, it's almost dry. And I say almost because when it's dry, it's going to be shiny And right now it's a little bit hazy. It's slightly, can you see that? You can see the slight haze. So this is not quite dry yet. It'll be nice and shiny when it's dry. So it's not ready for me yet. It's tacky, but I would not put my mirror foil on there yet until it was fully shiny and dry. Okay, let's take a look at, ooh, I have to find places where I can put things down. All right, so now here is a piece that is a collage that I started during one of the workshops. And notice I have a piece of wax paper over top of it. And for those of you who haven't seen it before, here is the wax paper. It says Cut Right Wax Paper. So that's what I'm using. And this is a collage, but you can hear that it's, right? You kind of hear it tear off of there. So right now it's clear. There's the word friendship right here, and there's a little leaf down here. Let's see if you can see that. Can you see it? You can kind of see it right there. There's, yep, it's clear and it's a leaf. So let's put some green on this and some red on this. Oh, that's one of the things I love about the transfer foils is they come in so many colors. Okay, so here's this one that we used before with the flowers. And I'm going to cover up where it says friendship right here. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to use a paper towel if I can find one. Hold on, I got to grab another one. And I'm going to use the paper towel to rub over top of the word friendship. Now what I can see already is that some of the white from what I used before, like there's the word friendship right here, right there. And some of the white from this little frame that I did before is over top of where it says friendship. So that's going to leave a little bit of area that's sticky that I can cover up with another area of the foil here, right? Okay, let's make sure that I've got it in and all around the edges. Okay, here comes the reveal. There is the word friendship right there. And it's actually red and shiny. Now there are little areas here that are tacky. Remember I said you go in with your finger and you feel if it's tacky, and that's because some of the red had already come up from another design. So, no, wait. It's getting in where the leaf was. So what I do is if I have an area like this that I want to do a different color, I will take a piece of the wax paper and I'll cover that up so that I won't accidentally, like I was just about to do, get some of the other color on there. What? Yeah, I was almost ready to get some of the other color on there. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Let's see if I got all the little bitty bits off up there. Ah, wonderful. Run my finger over it, make sure that it's all covered. Nice. Okay, so can you see the word? Yes, friendship. And now that is in red shimmer. It looks like red metallic. Oh, so fun. Okay, so that was the red. Now the Pebeo mirror leaves come in packs of 12, and you've got gold, silver, blue, red, and green. So let me find the green one for the leaves. So this is how they come, like this. And then you open this up. At first I was like, oh, 12 sheets. That's like too many. I can't believe it. You know what? You will go through this stuff so fast that 12 sheets is perfect. And in the gold always sells out first. So if y'all see the packets of gold, let me see, where was the gold packet? It looks like this. If you see that gold packet, woo, sucker's worth its weight in gold. Grab it. Okay, so here are the leaves in here. You pull one of the leaves out. Ooh, See, they kind of stick to each other, don't they? Okay, like that. So this is a nice clean mirror leaf. Remember how I said they're all silver on the back like that? It's like a muted silver. Then I'm going to take that, and now I can expose this part and put that right there over top of where I had drawn. What did I do? I drew with the mixed in relief because it has that little tip on it. I'm able to control what it is that I am writing or drawing. And so that's what I use to do these drawings. And that's actually what I use often to sign my artwork. I will sign it with the mixed in relief and the mirror leaves. Okay, so again, I'm rubbing hard, getting all around there. Oh, so pretty. The reveal's the most exciting part. Like I said, you'll get addicted to it. No doubt. Okay, here you go. You can see the design, the leaf design there that I had drawn. And there you go. See the green? Oh, yes. Just like that. So this is, I'm working on top of, there's acrylic paint in the background. And then even though this is paper, all these papers have been glued down using the gel medium. So all the papers have some of this acrylic medium on them, which is why I know that I can easily use this sizing glue or sizing paste on top of it, right? Because all of these elements on here have been glued down using an acrylic medium. All right, now one more thing to show you. And like I said, I appreciate y'all being here tonight, but I have one more thing to show you. And that is I made a bunch of artist cards for tonight's auction. And I created them on a piece of paper that was from an acrylic pour. So if any of you have seen the craze of acrylic pouring, where you put you pour different colors into a cup and then you pour it onto a canvas and you move it around and it makes a beautiful painting. That's called an acrylic paint pour. So what I've done is when I have leftover paint from an acrylic paint pour, I slather that paint onto a piece of heavy paper, like a watercolor paper, and then run a palette knife through it, just like this. And then I'll get all kinds of bubbles and really cool designs. And then I work on top of those to create artwork. So for instance, here you can see I put a little frame around this stamp, and it has some of the blue mirror leaf on it right there. But the background is one of those acrylic pours. So I have another piece here that I was working on to show you. Let me show you a couple of the acrylic, so a couple of the papers that I made from the acrylic pours. So you can see here, what's really cool is these were acrylic pours that I did that had metallic paints in them. So there's a bunch of metallic gold in here, a metallic blue, and you might look at it and go, well, that's not a painting. And you're right, it's not a painting, but it's a beautiful background and it's using leftover paint. So I have a no paint left behind policy, and that allows me then to think creatively about what am I going to do with these paints that I just poured onto a canvas and then poured off of the canvas. How can I use them? So I actually do my smaller paint pours on top of these papers and move the piece that I finished that's a good piece of artwork on a canvas, and then I run my palette knife over top of what's left, and you get these incredible designs here, right? So that's, rather than throwing the paint away, I use it to create these really interesting backgrounds. And then this piece, yeah, is one of those, but Notice there's a piece of wax paper on top of it because I drew a design. I used the mixed in relief and I drew a design straight out of the tube. So there you go. And this has a design on it here. Some flowers and leaves. All right, so it's a larger, much larger piece. There's actually my signature down here. So let's do the signature first. No, we're going to do the flowers first. So just like I did a moment ago, I'm going to take that. Oh, where did it go? Okay, it fell down. So hold on just a minute. I have to get a new piece of wax paper. The piece that was on there fell. Oh, and there goes something else. Okay, so right now I'm going to work on this flower, which is hard for you to see. I would have to bring it way up here and put it at an angle and perhaps you could see it. But it is the dried clear, there it is, there it is. It's the dried clear mixed in relief that I used from the tube and I drew some flowers and fun designs. So if I want to put red here, I want to cover up everything else so that I don't get the red anywhere else like I was showing you before. Now remember, this is a sheet that I've already used, but that's okay. There's plenty more on there. So let's go ahead. Why don't I do the outside of it in red? Okay, so we're going to work around the outside, and there's actually a different design on the inside. So this is what I do. I just take this. I take the areas that have not been used yet. I'm just using pressure like that. Oh, this is fun. Now, I think I'm going to put green on the inside there, but it's a lot easier if I cover the outer edges of it first with the red. Let's see, there's another little bit right there. Okay. You'll begin to see the design appear like magic as you do this. Okay. I'll bring it up close for you in just a moment. And it's the outside of the flower is beginning to appear. Now I may not have completely gotten it because I had already used this red before. So I will have to go back and check it with my finger. And anywhere that didn't get the red, I will put some of it there. Okay. So this is how you can work on a larger piece. Sometimes I'll have multiple pieces of wax paper and cover up, and you can cut the wax paper so you can make sure that you are covering a certain, like for instance, the middle here. If I wanted to be sure I wasn't getting anything in the middle, I could cut a small piece, put it in the middle, cover the ones up in the middle, and then come back. Another thing that I could do is make sure that I could just do the outer design, let it dry, put the foil on it, and then the next time go back in and do more details and let that dry so I could do it in layers that way. Okay, so I'm checking and I'm seeing other areas that are sticky that I want to be sure that I cover. Okay, before I lay the green one down there. All right, cool. Nice. Now there are some spots in the center there. Okay, so now you can see the red, the flowers beginning to show, but in the center there are some little spots. And those little spots I want to cover up with the green. Once the red is down and covering anything else that's sticky, I can now go in with the green. Okay, let's go in with the green in the center here. If there are any areas where the red was that aren't completely covered, yep, you can end up with some green in there. Look that's okay. It is what it is. All right. How fun is that? So now you've got the flower with the red around the outside and you have the green on the inside. And before I move on, I'm going to check the green and make sure that if there's anything that feels like it didn't get the completely covered, that I've covered it. Okay, beautiful. Now I can lift that up. I have a cute little flower over here. Actually, I'm going to do half of the flower like this. And this is where I would use another piece of wax paper. So I'm just going to cut some off of here. I just cut some off of the end of that because I've got the flower there, I've got the stem, I've got a leaf over here. So I'm isolating this little part of the flower that I'm going to work on. So this is what I do when I have a large piece and I want to do my whole design and then come back in later and decide what colors I want to use later. Okay, here we go. That is some more of the flower there. Nice. Oh, that's so fun. So fun. Okay, so you can see the flower, the other flower begin to show. There it is. Oh, there it is, right there. And the red is showing there. And so there are some leaves here. Let's see if we can do the leaves. That green color. So there is a leaf down here. So there's a leaf right here, so and a stem. So I'm covering over the other area and making sure that there are no flowers in here. Nope. Okay, good. So there. And oh, no, don't fall in the water. This other one was about to fall in the water. We don't want that. Okay. So that's the stem and some leaves. We're working a little bit at a time. So can you see there? You've got the beautiful green right there. Now I also have my signature down here. So I'm going to do my signature in green also. Let me cover over some of this. So again, I've used the mixture and I drew my signature at the bottom and now the signature is clear and tacky. Let's take this, put it over my signature. And I'm working on top of this piece of what is it called? Palette paper. Okay, here we go. So I've got my signature there. There we go. So that is such a fun way to do your signature. Let's see, there it is. So there's my symbol, 2024. So there's a lot more on here. I'll post it to my social media, to my Instagram. Over the next couple of days, I'll finish this so that you can see the design, but the design's beginning to come up now. It's hard to see in this light, but when I photograph it properly, you'll be able to see the red and the green, and I might throw some gold in there, but on a beautiful background. All right. Are there any questions from the peanut gallery there of the folks who stayed and watched the class? Thank you very much for watching the class. This is the end of this portion of the show.